Hi guys, welcome to part 2 of the Xamarin quick introduction tutorial. So I hope you guys have seen the preview video of part 2 so that you can get to see the expectations for the end product for this video. First we'll be opening the Visual Studio. We're gonna continue with our previous work from the previous tutorial. Let's just open that. Then my plan is to first work on the logging for the time. So every time we have a new item, and it will be added to the list view. So let's run the Android emulator first to test where we're at. So here we have the app. You can start, stop, and reset the timer that we have. So very simple little app. So what we're going to do is change the orientation a bit to stack layout, the horizontal, and then add a list box below the buttons. So I think that's it. That's a direction we're going to take. So here in our PCL portable class library, we'll open the main page, modify things a bit. It would help if we're going to have two stack layouts. Let's add another one. These were the previous buttons, and I'm gonna be adding a clear button. These guys here would need to be stacked vertically. So let's set the orientation to vertical, but these guys here would be horizontally stacked. So let's try and run this application and see what we have so far. So we have the start, stop, reset buttons here, and we have a clear button here. Okay, this is good. So we can't see it yet, but we should have a list box below this. All of these elements are stacked vertically, and this one is stacked horizontally. So that's it. We're gonna try to add contents to our list view. So every time we click on the stop, reset, and start, I think that's the good time to return an item for the list view, so that we can at least log the when things happen and at what time. So to do that, I'm just gonna create a function, very simple function here, that returns the elapsed time for our stopwatch. Do that, we have this stopwatch here. It's gonna do this. Okay. And also, as you can notice, this is public. I don't think that should be public, so let's change them to private, because I don't think we'll then alt enter, rename. So this is a resharper feature. It's a good feature. So we have now the stopwatch underscore stopwatch. So this is private to this class. Only this class can see these elements. Okay, and then we probably want to create another function which calls on this list view and adds item to it. This is it. So history items, insert new history item, and then these guys. So let's create a history item class, and then I'm gonna do that in the view models folder, and then within that I'm gonna create the history item. Add class history item. So this is going to be a really simple class, more like a struct, but there's no struct, I believe, in C. in C sharp. So you can find them in C++, but not in C sharp. So this is a very simple class for the history item. And then let's just click this so that it will add a using statement here for our view models. And then the list of history items, we need to change that a bit. So our history item is going to be a list of observable items or an observable collection. As you can see, it added this using statement and then this item here. So what it does is it allows us to have a collection of history items, and then let's just initialize these history items in our new. So there we go. We now have a list for these history items, and every time we add an history item, we want this to be bound to our list view, because history items is an object within our class. We need to bind that with the list view. To do that, we should update this one, list view history. So if you find this list view history on our code, we haven't yet embedded that yet. So what we're going to do is bind that. In the list view history, I'm gonna enter that here. After we have initialized components, item source is equal to history items. So that would be our, then list view history dot is full to refresh. Well, this one is optional, so I'll set that to false at this point. So what we have now is a binding for the list view history to the history items object. So basically the contents of the observable collection would be bound to the item source for our list view here. And if you can remember, we created an history item with text and text detail. So those are bound here, text and text detail. And these are like per row in a list view. So let's try and see where we're at. But before that, by the way, I'm just gonna make sure we add the call to the history. So if you're going to click reset, you will want to inform the user of this reset. So I'm gonna add that, and then the stop here, and then the start. So what this is doing is it will add an history item with a parameter of depending on the action. Then it would say here stop, then dash when that stopped, when that started. Very simple. So, and then the text would be the elapsed time. So the reason why I did this stop first before adding to history item, because you'd want to stop then get the time, because if you did the add history item first before you stop, then the time it stopped and the moment it stopped, I mean the display would not be the same. So well, this is just some quirk with the timer that we have. So I think this is the best way to implement it. There could be other ways. So for the reset, you will want to get the time, because if you reset it then and then get the time, you'd have 00 every time. So let's try and see what we have. So let's start. We have here 00 start. Let's stop, reset, start, stop. You can see here we have the items on the top right, not on the bottom. I think that's one good way to do this, because once there are a lot of items, you don't want the user to scroll up to get, to scroll down just to get to the most recent record. Everything's on top. I think the piece of code for that is simply insert instead of add, because if you did an add, it would append. Insert would insert at index 0 the new history item object that we have created. So I think that's all for the, but we do want to have a clear function though, so that we can at least clear the history. So in order to do that, I'm just gonna create a handler for the button clear that click. So we now have a handler, and then it should be very simple. The content of this clear, I'm just going to use this lines of code, history items that clear, and then just enable the button. So I'm just gonna update the code here and enable buttons, but yeah, if you press clear, there should be no more entries, so you should not be able to click clear again. But if you press any of these, entries will come out, so you should be able to click on clear. So let's try again and check if the clear button works. Start, stop, set, clear. Okay, I think it's all working now. Start, stop. So we have 2.6 here. Okay, 2.6. Let's reset. Okay, this action happened at this point in time. Clear. Okay, that's it. I think so far we have implemented the clear button. I think that's it for the list view. So as in the preview, our next task is to add a master detail page. This will be more about layouting so that you guys can have multiple pages in your app. This is just to demonstrate these features of Xamarin. So to do that, I'm just gonna add a new page, new item, and then I'm gonna click on form sample page. So there are other options to do things, but I prefer just hitting on form sample page every time. And then let's say we want an about page also. So let's try and do an about page. And then in our about page, we want to add some simple text. So what I would do is just add lorem ipsum just for this presentation. And then as you can see, we have 3 paragraphs here. These are quite long paragraphs for the about page. And then for the layout, I'm just gonna add this. This is actually a layout I got somewhere from the internet, and I think it's a good layout for pages with text in them. So this is our simple about page. Let's try showing the about page to the user. So let's try to comment this, duplicate that, and then let's try showing the about page, what we have for the about page. So I edited the app.xaml CS, so it should directly show the about page without bothering with the other pages. So we have this one. So this is the about page we have right now. So to do a master detail page, pages should have titles. That's I think a requirement. So let's just add a title here. Say about us. Be good. Okay, let's try again. So we now have a page with a title about us, but at this moment you can't really see the title. It's okay. It will appear when we get to the master detail page. So next we need to add a new item. That would be the master detail page, the master. So do that. Let's add another form, and I would say assign this as the main master detail page. And before we forget, our main page is now the stopwatch page. So let's remember that, and let's try and add a title for this. Say stopwatch. And on the main master detail page, I'm just gonna add this piece of code snippet. So I'm gonna explain this. So right now we have a main page. So I just added the reference for that, and then we have the master detail. So as you can see, we are encountering errors. That's because we need to change the type to master detail page, and also here we need to change the inheritance to master detail page. This would be the parent object, and then what we don't have right now is this main navigation page. The main navigation page would be the page that appears on the left side when you drag the drawer. Android call this drawer, iOS split view. Anyway, let's create this. Let's just get this piece of code and add new item. Let's call that form sample page, and then this one, main navigation page. So I'll be explaining everything later, but let me just add this piece of code for the main navigation page. So this is our main menu that appears on the left side. So let's call this menu. We have here a very simple layout, margin padding, and then here in the content page we have very simple stack layout, and then a list view within that stack layout, and then a text cell with a binding to a title. So this list view is going to appear as an object from our code behind file. So let's check on that. So let's make sure we make this list view public so that it can be accessed as the navigation list view. And then after we initialize the component, I'm just gonna add pieces of code here, the observable collection, and then the master page item. You might ask, what is that master page item? That's a new class that we're going to create. You can put this in a separate file, but since this is localized for this purpose, so I'm just gonna create this new class master page item below this class. So let me move that there. Okay. So after this class we have the master page item, which has a title, icon stars, and target type. For this tutorial we'll not be using icon stars, but we'll be using title and target type. As you can see here, we have a title and a target type, and then Upon creation, we create these two pages, the stopwatch and the about page, and then we insert the contents of these to the list view item source. So what happens is that they will appear in the list view. So just to demonstrate this, let's try and show this main navigation page from the app.xaml. Let's try and check how it appears. We have the stopwatch and the about. That's the menu that we have just created. So what we're going to do next is in the master detail page, we're gonna add a few code behind files. So within here, I'm gonna add this one. On the page main navigation pane, this would be this object, the navigation pane. Dot navigation list view. So that would be this one, navigation list view. When an item is selected, we trigger this function. So let's create that function here. So let's replace that piece of code with a snippet that I have here ready. So what it does is simply gets the selected item, and then if item is not null, of course, it will get the detail. So the detail would be the new navigation page activator that create instance item target type. So if you could remember the target type, that was the what kind of page that we have. So for example, the target type is main page or about page. That's it. And then it would create an instance of that and assign that as the detail. So where's the detail at? The detail is the detail object of the master detail page. The master would be the main menu, and the detail would be the main view. And then in the page main navigation pane, the selected item would be set back to null. Then is presented would be false. So that would mean that the drawer would be hidden once again. So let's just try and assign this as the main page in the app.xaml here, and then try to run the app. So we now have the default page as a stopwatch. That's because we have assigned here in the main master detail page that our default page is the main page, and since main page is the stopwatch page, so it would be the default page. So that would be upon initialization, and then the name would be page main. So this is actually optional, but since we are reassigning the detail, that's okay. And then going back to the emulator, if you click on this, the stopwatch and about box would appear. Click on about, you would see this about message. And you click on stopwatch, and you can run the stopwatch. So you might notice that whenever we go back the stopwatch, everything is reset. So that's one issue that one can also fix, but I will not be doing that for this tutorial. That would be a good exercise for the viewers, how to do that. The clue is just to make a variable that would store this, and then the variable should be a static variable so that it can cross different classes. That's just one of the ways one can save data for the entire instance of the app. And then even though you transfer to different page, and when you go back, it would still work. So since we have, I think, finished testing this on the Android, let's try it on the Mac. So let me just sign in to my Mac. Now that we've signed into the Mac, let's just assign the simulator. So here we have the iOS app. You can still click on start, stop, reset, and clear the list. Good. Go to the about page. Go to the stopwatch page. I think that's it. So let's open the Android emulator once again, just for comparison. Let's find the stopwatch. I think this is the one. Okay. They have the similar operation. And I think this ends the presentation that we have. Thank you for watching.